Afternoon. We'll start this bulletin live in Cape Town. A group of global leaders, they call the Elders, marking its 10th anniversary by launching the Walk Together campaign in Cape Town today. Madiba was a member of the Elders before retiring from public life. Let's cross now to our reporter Lester Kivett at the Cape Town International Convention Centre. And Lester, good afternoon to you. Take it away. Two high-profile guests with you.
Hi Jeremy, yes, the walk is now complete. We've now walked from the City Hall to the International Convention Centre, where the official commemoration of the life of Nelson Mandela, as well as the celebration of the 10 years of the Elders, will then take place. Thabo Makgoba, Archbishop of Cape Town, you took part in the walk, a symbolic walk in the name of Nelson Mandela, carrying forward that metaphor of a long walk to freedom. Your thoughts on today's event?
Indeed, it was a metaphor of the long walk to freedom, a symbolic walk, but also a deeply spiritual walk, because one knew the values of the person we're trying to emulate through this walk. And you can see the people that were here, young, old, black and white, locals and international people. So it means, in a spiritual sense, Madiba is holy because he's able to unite people even in his death. And so it's a very special moment. I mean, as I said earlier on, I didn't bring a proper pair of shoes to walk in, and so my feet are aching a bit. But you can imagine if my feet are aching for such a short walk, 27 years of incarceration in prison, and he comes out. Somebody wants to talk about reconciliation, peace, and wants to talk about the common good. So I commit myself from this day to continue to try and emulate those values.
It was a short but brisk walk, but it also somewhat says that as a country we still have a long way to go, and to pick up that mantle of Nelson Mandela, pick up his spear and continue his walk. In terms of his legacy, what do you think that we still need to do as South Africans, as a country, as a government, to continue the legacy of Nelson Mandela?
As a country, as a government, I think we need to pluck up courage and to speak out when there are wrongs, to really go deep and look at the things that are making South Africa not work. For example, the patronage system that is stealing from the poor and making South Africa not to be what it is, making South Africa look broken. As a country, we also need to pick up this multiracial context where people are united instead of talking about races and tribes and excluding the other. We need to look at some of the things that unite us, some of the things that could unite us as South Africans in order to deal with inequality and to ensure that justice is attained in our lifetime.
And just finally, with all the eminent people that are here today, many are former senior statespeople, yes. Does South Africa still hold that esteem in the international community like we did when President Mandela was president?
I'm afraid we are limping, and we're not broken yet, but we are limping. And if we don't put the crutches in order to stand, we may totally lose that international stature that we used to hold. But we have wonderful, good South Africans that can ensure that we attain that which Mandela attained together with others for South Africa.
I'm going to allow Archbishop Thabo Makgoba to get back into his seat inside. He says he wants to get his VIP seat. This is people gathering here, many eminent people from South Africa, but also internationally coming here to honor the life of Nelson Mandela, also celebrating 10 years of the establishment of the Elders Group. We are waiting for our one guest is all the way from the UK, Sir Richard Branson. Thank you very much for joining us. You are a very good friend of South Africa overall, and not to mention Nelson Mandela himself. What does being here today mean for you?
Look, it's a magical day. It's Mandela was somebody that all of us in the world looked up to. Today is a day to celebrate his the start of his 100th year. It's a day to hug his wife, Graça Machel, who was equally wonderful as Madiba was. It's a day to celebrate the 10 years of the elders. The elders Mandela set up 10 years ago so that his life could live on through the elders, and in the last 10 years they've been into conflict regions and worked on solving conflicts and spoken out on things like climate change and tried to work hard to get blindness around the world cured, or tried to get hard to bring universal health care to everybody in the world. And most of the elders are down here, and we had a wonderful day doing the march, and on a lovely sunny day, just celebrating his life.
Before I want to get to the work of the elders. You're not only a renowned entrepreneur, but also known for philanthropy. Philanthropy, charity is very much part of Nelson Mandela Day in terms of giving back to your community. What does Nelson Mandela speak to when it comes to those who are very rich and those who are not so rich, giving of their time, of their energy, of their self to people who don't have as much as they do?
Well, Mandela did not die a rich man, and I think that anybody who decides to give up their life to run a country or become a politician, they must accept they're doing it for the people, not for themselves. And I think Mandela was a shining example of that. Up until now, I think people have felt that the politicians and the social sector are there to deal with the problems of the world. I disagreed with that, and over the last 20 years have tried to rally the business community to get behind solving a lot of the problems of the world, because I think a lot of business people are quite entrepreneurially minded. They can see problems in the world in a different way, and I think if you can unite entrepreneurs, politicians and the social sector, we've got a much better chance of solving the problems of the world. And so, I mean, for instance, with Virgin as a business, we draw a circle around every one of our companies. So the Virgin Health Clubs, they have a circle around their health clubs. If there's a school in that circle, if there's a clinic in that circle, they do everything they can to help. And if every business could draw a circle around itself and help the communities within that circle, I think we'd get on top of most of the problems of this world. And hopefully Mandela would smile down on us for doing so.
Just finally, I want to touch on the Elders Group celebrating its 10th year. In a world that has become more politically isolated, where the major powers are drawing and looking much more into themselves, what then does a group like the Elders have to offer with their moral knowledge, their knowledge of the world, knowledge of people? What does the group like that have to offer, not only people in the developing world, but throughout the world?
Well, look, I think with one voice, the elders are very sad that countries, politicians, not necessarily countries, are looking inwards and not embracing everybody in this world. And the elders speak out about these issues and are trying to get politicians to treat everybody equally and treat if there is somebody who's displaced from, say, Syria, they need to be welcomed. If someone's displaced from Zimbabwe, I mean, South Africa has been incredibly welcoming and given them another chance. And if there was, God forbid, ever a bloody conflict in South Africa, hopefully countries around South Africa would welcome people from South Africa. So we need a world which is much more understanding and much more embracing, and that's what the elders stand for.
So Richard Branson, thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy your time here in South Africa.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
All the best.
Cheers.
Thank you so much. That's Richard Branson, entrepreneur and philanthropist, who is joining in the festivities here and the celebrations of the life of Nelson Mandela. Also looking at the 10th anniversary of the Elders Organization, a group that consisting of elders, statesmen and women, people of moral courage, a group that Nelson Mandela founded 10 years ago, all happening here at the Cape Town International Convention Centre, where just a short while ago the group walked from the Cape Town Civic Centre, City Hall rather, to this venue as a symbol of the long walk to freedom of Nelson Mandela, and a call to others to continue that walk and continue that legacy of Nelson Mandela. Jeremy?
Thank you, Lester. Certainly a positive circle being drawn around the city of Cape Town today. ENCA reporter Lester Kivett.